At the time of this video, Monster Hunter Wilds is either just about to come out or has released and everyone is neck deep in monster parts. But the release of a new Monster Hunter had me thinking about how I got into the series. What drew me in? It was still a pretty niche game back then. I remember playing a demo of Monster Hunter 3 Ultimate, where one of the fights you could do was against the Lagombi, a giant rabbit that sleds around on its stomach way faster than you can move. They let you pick any weapon from the game and set you free. It was horrible. I picked the Greatsword, which if you're a Monster Hunter veteran, you know is slow and hard to hit with, especially for a newbie. You're usually given 50 minutes to hunt a monster. I walked around, Greatsword in hand, stumbling through the snow as this rabbit from hell kept running me over, and I ran out the clock. I said, F this game, Monster Hunter sucks, and deleted the demo. But I came back sometime later. Gave it another try. I picked another weapon. I struggled, but had a successful hunt. I kind of started to get it. I told my friends of this game I just tried and how it had couch crossplay between the Wii U and 3DS. One person could use the console while 3 others played from their handheld, and that was enough to pique their interest. It was such a unique experience we had never seen. But that was then, and this is now. How do you convince a friend, a loved one, a rival, to get Monster Hunter? It's still a weird niche game, with a gameplay loop that is so simple it's hard to explain why it's interesting. And at least in the older games, the crafting and skill system was complex and required a Herculean amount of grinding. There's an invisible wall at the head of the Monster Hunter series that newcomers do not know how to climb, whether that be due to bias, a lack of understanding, or just an inability to parse what this game is actually about. I made some brief bullet points that I would share with a friend if I was trying to get into Monster Hunter for the first time. Number 1. Don't get overwhelmed by the amount of choices you have at the beginning. There are 14 types of weapons, all varying in complexity, niche, and role. If you try to experiment with all of them, you will get information overload. Pick one that seems interesting to you, and stick with it for a while. Learn the ins and outs. If it doesn't click or you just don't like it, swap. I remember hearing somewhere someone saying that Monster Hunter is almost like a fighting game. Every weapon is a different character you can spend hundreds of hours just learning and perfecting. Number 2. Nowadays, Monster Hunter is super single-player friendly. It can be stressful or just a huge turnoff to feel like you're forced to play with other people, especially if you aren't confident. But the newer games have typically scaled down the difficulty for the single-player quests, so you can get your feet wet while learning the game and still be challenged, without worrying if you're performing well enough for other people. Number 3. Monster Hunter is a cooperative experience where at its best, silly things are happening all over the place. I think we have the image in our head of the 4-player A-team all obliterating the monster within the first 2 zones, loaded with flash pods and barrel bombs. But it's okay to mess around and make mistakes. It's okay for the monster to KO you. Which leads me to my next point. Number 4. Every monster is, in essence, a new boss battle. But why should you know everything about how to fight a new enemy you've never seen before? Hang back, watch the monster, watch your friends fight it, learn, and experience the flow of battle. Does this monster have an attack that poisons you? Now you know next time to bring antidotes. There's so much trial and error involved. You shouldn't ever feel bad playing Monster Hunter. If you're new, it can legitimately be a hard game. Number 5. The most recent Monster Hunter games are rife with tutorials. This is good, because the older ones basically said, hello, the flagship monster is that way, now go hunt until you can get the quest to fight them. This can also be overwhelming because there can be a lot of tutorials. Don't worry about memorizing every word and mechanic. You'll brush up against each of the game's systems eventually, and learning through doing is honestly how Monster Hunter begins to click. Number 6. Play the way you want. For 99% of these games, there aren't strategies you need to worry about. There's not a meta that you're locked into. Every weapon is viable. Every playstyle is valid. Number 7. Experiment. There's so many items and so many skills that do all sorts of things. Try out new skills. Find out what you like. Some are straightforward, like raising attack or elemental defense. Some are wacky and weird, like giving you buffs when you eat raw mushrooms. Number 8. Ask for help. Do you have friends that play? Ask them to come on a hunt with you. My suggestion is to ask them to play casually and not come in and overload you with information. If they are veterans, ask them to use some weaker weapons, or try a weapon they don't know how to use. You'd be surprised how much that levels the playing field and how bad experienced hunters can get when using a weapon they know next to nothing about. I'm not a Monster Hunter guru, and I'm far from the best. Honestly, I don't think I'm even that good. But over the years and with each new release, I ask friends to play or try the series, and a lot of the time they just don't. It feels too overwhelming. Everyone is entitled to their opinion, and if they aren't interested, that's fine. But I'd hate to see prospective players that want to dip their toes in get frightened and avoid the series entirely. Thanks for watching, and I hope to see you again.